Trump drives viewers to Fox as he tweets about segment covering John Podesta's Russia connections. President Donald Trump isn't shying away from the Russia story just because there is an FBI investigation of alleged links between some of his campaign and transition associates and Moscow. The president tweeted to his 27 million followers on Tuesday morning that they should watch at Fox and Friends now on Podesta and Russia. The tweet referenced a segment on the morning cable show, which Trump frequently praises, about former Hillary Clinton campaign chief John Podesta. The segment explored Podesta's former stock ownership in an energy company that got an infusion of $35 million in funds linked to the Kremlin. On Monday, conservative news site Breitbart.com wrote that Podesta may have violated federal law by failing to disclose stock deals related to his role as a member of the executive board of Joule Unlimited, a renewable fuels company that got funds from a government fund connected to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The story references Podesta's own emails, which got posted on WikiLeaks during the campaign following a computer hack that the intelligence community has concluded was orchestrated by Russian intelligence. The story references an August 2016 report by Peter Schweizer about Podesta's stock in the firm. Schweizer exposed myriad Clinton financial dealings and Clinton cash. He is president of the Government Accountability Institute, a group he founded along with Stephen Bannon, who is now Trump's chief strategist. The president himself has been under close scrutiny for contacts between some of his closest associates and Russia. The FBI and the House and Senate intelligence panels are investigating.
At risk of losing federal dollars.
Empowering and promoting women in business is an absolute priority. I am thrilled that we can meet to discuss how we can continue this important mission.
Devin Nunes used evidence to help back up the president's claim that he was wiretapped through a secret visit that he made to the White House last week.
Whether it's the White House or Waffle House, what difference does it make if the information is reliable and authentic?
The United States is at war. The Army is deploying 200 additional soldiers in Mosul, the Islamic State's so-called capital in Iraq.
If Republicans don't get health care back on the agenda, it will be a broken promise from Republicans of historic proportions.
Do you have a sonogram picture I can see?
I do. That's the next generation of Trump right there.
There he is. It is a Tuesday. You made it through your Monday. We are thrilled.
And Steve, how many times have we heard Ainsley say that? Let's get the party started. And every hour, it's like, let's get the party started.
Right. I just sat down. I was jumping on the sofa, raising the roof.
Yeah, she thought it was the Oprah show.
Yeah.
We're back together. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
How was your trip?
It was fine, thank you very much. I feel like since there's no news going on, I can take off for a couple of days, and I'll come back and nothing happens.
Really, pretty much the same thing, just change outfits. Read the prompter, same as yesterday.
Very boring.
No, you know what it is? It is the same story, but change the names. First it was Flynn, then it was Sessions, and now it is Nunes is the devil, according to the Democrats, who would like to see him recuse himself, because yesterday he revealed that, you know, when he had that press conference last week, that he had some secret information that had not been made public. He actually met with his source at the White House campus last week. It was not inside the West Wing. It was apparently not a White House staffer or intel officer. And just those few details got the Democrats so mad they want him out as the chair.
Chuck Schumer wants him out and wants Paul Ryan to replace him as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
As does Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. That's big of them. I'm sure that's the House is really interested in what the Senate thinks. It just goes through tradition. See, if I got to back up a second, you brought up Mike Flynn. He was targeted for a while. I'm going to mention some other names. Monica Crowley was targeted for a while. Kellyanne Conway was targeted for a while. Sebastian Gorka. Little by little, they are trying to take down Jeff Sessions, as you guys mentioned, but they were trying to take down almost everyone in this administration, whether named or nominated. Devin Nunes, a high-profile, respected Republican, does something unorthodox, but not for him. People that follow Devin Nunes knows that he takes this intelligence thing very seriously, oftentimes following his own lead. So this is par for the course for what he does. In retrospect, he came back and said, you know what, I probably should president told ranking member Schiff before I told the White House, sorry, but that doesn't diminish what I learned. It had nothing to do with Russia. Well, it had everything to do with unmasking of names and possibly NSA transcripts.
Well, the good news is Schiff and everybody on the committee is going to wind up seeing what he has seen so far. This is the way it works. If there's a whistleblower in the administration or something like that, you don't go before the full committee. You wind up calling somebody and you say, hey, I've got some information I think you should see.
He's been very public about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And apparently he has gone over to the White House once or twice a week for a very long time because apparently, and he explained this, I think, on the O'Reilly show. He was making a number of appearances yesterday. What he did is he made it very clear once or twice a week he goes over to the White House complex, usually the Eisenhower building, because they've got a computer system that they do not have access to at the House of Representatives.
And they don't want you to have access elsewhere from the White House. And by the way, you don't always knock on the front door. There's plenty of places in the White House complex to go.
So he has included all of us. He's included you. You wanted transparency, you got it. He's telling us exactly what's happening. He was on O'Reilly last night, and he said, sorry, Chuck Schumer, I'm not going anywhere.
He wants you to quit the investigation. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that the Democrats do want me to quit because they know that I'm quite effective at getting to the bottom. We're also investigating leaks as it relates to Russia. Now, as you know, just recently last week I found out that there was additional information that came forward to me that had nothing to do with Russia, but has everything to do with whether or not Americans were masked properly or, in fact, unmasked. And I'm very concerned.
Now, what he just said there was very important. It has nothing to do with Russia. Wait a minute. Then why is the NSA doing the incidental collection of Americans and unmasking the names? If the whole thing is about Russia, right? Not about Russia. No wonder he said the other day he's troubled by it. No wonder Trey Gowdy says, Mr. Schumer, sorry.
I just love it when Senator Schumer gives Republicans advice on what we ought to do. Devin is doing exactly what the chairman Hipsey ought to do. I wish Senator Schumer and some of the other Democrats would be more interested in the authenticity and the reliability of the underlying data and not the means by which it was acquired. Whether it's the White House or Waffle House, what difference does it make if the information is reliable and authentic?
Right, and no one's seen the information outside the whistleblower, we assume, and outside Devin Nunes, who has not seen it all. He was prepared to show everyone on today, but it's not ready yet. So we'll see if everything falls into place, if anyone would acknowledge that. Bottom line, when you look at this whole thing, whether you think Devin Nunes is the best or the worst, it looks like more attention now will be given to the Senate Intelligence Committee because of all the turbulence circulating around the House Intelligence Committee.
Well, it does look as if the story, the narrative that the mainstream media, that the Democrats are trying to push is that he got this information from somebody at the White House, which is a great story, but not true. There's no evidence to support that. It was clear yesterday, not somebody from the West Wing, it's somebody who has access to the White House facility as well.
Well, Democrats can give their opinions. They can say that they want him to step down, but they do not have the ability to make him step down.
All right. Meanwhile, there's something else that's bothering the president. How do you know? He tweeted about it. Clearly, he is not happy with the way this whole health care plan worked out. It didn't pass through the House.
He was also tweeting about this. This is Russia with Hillary Clinton.
Sure, regarding the Nunes thing and everything else. Why isn't the House Intel Committee looking into the Bill and Hillary deal that allowed big uranium to go to Russia? Russia's speech money to Bill, there was a lot of that, the Russian Hillary reset. Praise of Russia by Hillary or Podesta Russian company. Trump-Russia story is a hoax. Now, what he's talking about regarding the Podesta story is that when John Podesta became a special counselor to the President of the United States, Barack Obama, he did not reveal that he had a financial tie to a Russian company with ties to the Kremlin. That is against the law for not revealing that. And if somebody in this administration had something like that going on, don't you think it would be in the cover of the New York Times in type about that big?
So anyone who is up for a cabinet position or is going to be part of the team of the new administration, you have to go through a long application process. You can only imagine. Yes, you have to disclose all of your financial holdings. If you have a Roth IRA, if you have a 401k, they have to go through that with a fine-tooth comb and see.
If you have a Kremlin IRA, they're really
that could
interested.
be a big problem, right?
Right, and also add to the fact that yesterday Jared Kushner, who's going to be doing a job trying to make government more efficient, sounds easy, also says, I will come in and talk to any investigators into why I had a meeting with a Russian bank official, which is actually on the sanctions list. On the surface, there's nothing wrong with that, but the appearances aren't great. Let's hear his explanation.
Well, he offered. He said, look, you know, I talked to some of these people in the transition, which is what they're supposed to do. I'll come in. Just let me know when. They say, we'll let you know when.
Mm-hmm. So I was on vacation last weekend, I guess, or at the beach, and at a wedding. It wasn't a vacation, it was a weekend. And I get a call, and it's Eric Trump, and he said, Ainsley, I kept asking him for an interview, and he said, I told him congratulations on having the baby. We're so excited to hear the news. And he said, I'd like to sit down with you. I want to say yes to your invitation to do the interview. So yesterday, I got to sit down with Eric Trump and his beautiful wife, Lara, to find out more about their exciting news. They're having a little boy. We're going to show this throughout the next 3 hours. But I did ask him about some news yesterday, because yesterday we were on the Curvy Couch and we were talking about how President Trump had said he's going to have to work with Democrats if these Republicans won't work together
in fact,
pass Obamacare.
In fact, he put out a tweet last night as it relates to what you're about to ask him, and it says, the Democrats will make a deal with me on health care as soon as Obamacare folds. Not long, do not worry, we are in very good shape.
All right, so we asked him about that. Is he going to work with the Democrats? Eric said this. He said he was going to have to start working with Democrats now. He's threatening basically the Republicans, saying if you can't get on board, I'm going to have to go elsewhere and work with the Democrats.
Yeah, and quite frankly, you wish you, at least from a civilian standpoint, I wish you'd see more of that. You know, I mean, you see how fragmented the system really is. And it's sad. You look at our Supreme Court nominee right now, right? I mean, he was confirmed unanimously the last time he went through this process, and now they're talking about having no Democrats vote in his favor, and it's really sad. I mean, when you look at that, you just realize how partisan Washington, D.C. really is, and the reality is 85% of people in this country don't fall into one bucket or another.
Interesting. When the president was tweeting last night, he also made it very clear he's still steamed at House Republicans who blew the chance to do something about health care. He tweeted out, the Republican House Freedom Caucus was able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory after so many bad years. They were ready for a win.
Right. Well, that's not going to happen as of now. We'll see if they come back to it a little bit later. Democrats also realized they could celebrate over the weekend, but by today they realize they're in a plan that needs desperate help. So the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, and there's no one there out to rescue. Sadly, in the interim, it's the American people that are going to be paying higher premiums, higher deductibles, and searching far and long to find another health care company in the exchange that they can work with.
Yeah, it's got to be affordable. All right, in 9 more minutes, you're going to see more of that interview.
Excellent.
And they tell us what they might be naming the little baby.
Fantastic. All right, so keep it here because you also have the headlines right now with Heather Childers.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning to you and to everyone at home. We begin with a Fox News alert for you, though. Police under attack, an urgent manhunt underway in Miami after two are ambushed sitting in their car. Fellow officers rushing them to the hospital in the back of a pickup truck overnight. The undercover officers were in an unmarked car investigating gang activity, we're told. Officers say that 6 people walked up, opened fire, and then took off. Both of those officers will be okay, but a much more tragic ending in Oklahoma to tell you about. A rookie officer killed in a traffic stop shootout. 22-year-old Justin Turney shot 3 times as he tried to stop suspect Byron Shepard running away from the scene. Officer Turney is the 9th officer killed in the line of duty this year. And another alert for you out of Maryland. This one, the father of the illegal immigrant we told you about, charged with sexually assaulting his 14-year-old classmate, is also facing deportation, arrested for being in the country illegally. ICE confirming that his son, 18-year-old Henry Sanchez Milian, was stopped at the Texas border in 2016 prior to his rape charge earlier this month. Now, the teenager has remained at the center of the national immigration debate as Maryland lawmakers consider sanctuary state status. And those are a look at your headlines so far. We'll have you more for you a little bit later. Back to you.
All right, Heather. Thank you. Meanwhile, straight ahead, what would you do if your child came home with this homework assignment? Write an essay about September the 11th, 2001, from Al-Qaeda's point of view. That actually happened, and the teacher is now defending it.
Plus, President Trump and first daughter Ivanka going one-on-one with female business owners. So what did they talk about? Our next guest was there, and she is here to tell all.
And promoting women in business is an absolute priority in the Trump administration because I know how crucial women are as job creators, role models, and leaders all throughout our communities. You're really an inspiration to everybody, and that's men and women, believe me. A lot of men out there, they're not doing what you're able to do.
Well, President Trump meeting with women business owners at the White House to discuss issues they are facing and what topics were addressed and how did the president's plan, how did it relate to everybody and what is he going to do to fix the inequity? Joining us right now is one of the women who was in that meeting, CEO and co-founder of CN Plus, Lily Gil Valletta. Thanks so much for joining us, Lily.
Thank you.
What was it like yesterday?
Well, it was a very productive session. I was very proud to represent the voice of small business owners, women, minorities, and definitely was an open forum for us to put things on the table and see if we can find solutions together.
What does your company do?
So my company is a business consulting and big data analytics firm, and we work with big Fortune 500 companies that want to successfully reach minorities as a growth market.
You mentioned a lot got done when the cameras went away. What was your, number one, if the president calls, you're showing up. I don't care who's president, number one. Number two is what message did you want to get across, and also what did you hear?
So I wanted to, as a businesswoman, anchor it in a business topic. A lot of people, especially in my community, were expecting us to bring up immigration or things like that, but I wanted to talk about growth. If we all grow as a small business community, women community, minority community, the entire American economy will rise. We're outpacing the creation of new businesses as women 2 to 1 to men, and within that group we are leading the way as minorities. So there has to be ways to remove the barriers that get in the way of us achieving our full potential so that the economy can achieve its full potential.
One of the challenges you just mentioned to me as a woman as opposed to man is the fact when life events happen, usually more responsibility falls on the woman a lot of times, whether it's birth or a divorce. In what way can that be addressed from the White House?
So when the cameras weren't in there, we actually talked about access to capital and some of the lending mechanisms today that are so restrictive because of regulation and how small banks are held to the same standards as big banks many times. And we are disproportionately affected because your credit score changes, your ability to earn money changes when you jump off a career ramp. And those things need to be taken into consideration because a great big idea of a startup by a woman may be underfunded because of that.
And here's the thing, too. Fundamentally, it's networking. The men, for the most part, hang around a lot more people, a lot more business, a lot more contacts. How do you foster those contacts?
You know, mentoring is very important. Actually, when Ivanka kicked off our working session, she started with that topic. So how can we match us up that are maybe in a smaller middle size with the big guys and make it a productive collaboration, not a competition? And I think we're looking forward to some of those programs through the SBA or just by being more intentional in matching us up.
And I think that Ivanka especially is going to be zoned into the follow-up to make sure something's getting done.
Exactly. It's clear she's going to play an active role in that whole space.
And she's heading to Berlin for an international conference on women businesses. Lily, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It was a great day, and I appreciate you reflecting on it with us this morning.
Absolutely.
All right, 10 minutes before the bottom of the hour. If you are a Donald Trump supporter trying to enjoy a quiet dinner out, you better hope that Senator Chuck Schumer is not nearby. What sparked his furious restaurant rant that was totally inappropriate? That story straight ahead. And it's a boy, Eric and Lara Trump, recently announcing some big news. Their first child on the way.
We actually found out on Eric's birthday.
And we told the family on Inauguration Day. So we got back from the inauguration. We
at the White House.
Went to what was amazing is how excited my father was. I mean,
what was his reaction?
More of Angel's exclusive in just a moment. All right, Eric and Lara Trump have a lot to celebrate. They recently announced they are expecting their first baby.
I got to sit down with them yesterday at Trump International Hotel and Tower and get their thoughts about some of the latest news out of Washington. But first, they shared the president's reaction to the news of his 9th grandchild. Take a look. How exciting. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Tell us how you learned the news.
Well, we actually found out on Eric's birthday, of all days, January 6th.
Special.
So it was a nice birthday surprise, I think, for him.
And we told the family on Inauguration Day. So we got back from the inauguration. We
at the White House.
Went to the White House, and that's kind of when we broke it to the family. So we're excited. It's going to be a little Trump boy entering the world in September.
Okay, so do you have a sonogram picture I can see?
I do. That's the
That's
the next generation of Trump right there.
There he is.
Have you thought about a name? A junior?
Possibly a junior. We have a couple others that are high on the list, and so.
Do you want to share?
I don't know if we can. What was amazing is how excited my father was. I mean,
yeah. What was his reaction?
Just on cloud nine. We were in fact joking. He saw Laura at the big event a few weeks ago in Tennessee, and she went out to introduce him. And before he goes, "Laura, it's a boy. I can't wait. It's a boy."
Told everybody that was in the room, and I was like, "Oh, we haven't told anyone."
We haven't told anybody yet.
It was a surprise.
He's
notorious for that, isn't he?
It was awesome.
He's super excited, and it's gonna be fun. Another little boy.
He couldn't help it. He's so excited.
And by the way, that made me feel so good. How happy and how excited he was, and you know, just for everyone to feel that way. It's nice to have positive news and for everybody to be happy and smiling and feel good. So that made me feel real special.
And he's a great grandfather. I see it with Don's kids, and I see it with Ivanka's kids. They'll be at one of the clubs on a weekend, and the kids will jump on his golf cart, and they'll literally have 5 kids hanging off the golf cart, and he has his hands around them, and they're driving around him. And he's a great grandfather.
Your brother-in-law is getting a new position in the administration.
Yeah, he is.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, listen, Jared's amazing, and he's always believed in innovation, and he's always believed in efficiency and doing things very well. And I think the office that he's creating is going to focus on all those things, and he's a perfect person to head it up. You know, he really believes in technology. He believes in moving things forward. He believes that if you look at a problem, there can be better ways to solve it. And I think when you take that and you apply that to government, I mean, the amount of efficiency that we could create, the amount of innovation that could benefit the people of this country is astronomical. And I think it's going to be an amazing office, and I think he's going to do a great job. He's brilliant. He's really an amazing guy. He's going to do a great job with it.
Congressman Devin Nunes says that there might be evidence that Trump Tower was surveilled. You work in Trump Tower. They could be listening to everything you say, all of your interactions. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's scary. You know, listen, you saw with the tax returns as well, where things just get leaked. I mean, this is personal information about people. I mean, think about how scary that is if people in government are doing that to further their own personal agendas, or people in the media are doing that to further their own personal agendas.
We got so many emails from viewers after Ted Koppel interviewed Sean Hannity, and he sat down with him for 45 minutes, and the clip that he aired was basically going after Sean and saying he was bad for America. Did you see that? What was your reaction?
Well, first of all, Sean's an amazing person. I know you know him well. I know him very well, and he's a fantastic person. And by the way, there's no better patriot in the world than Sean Hannity. I mean, he's just a great, great man, and he has strong beliefs. And you know, beliefs are what get America to a great place. Beliefs on, quite frankly, both sides of the aisle. And, you know, it's interesting. You always hear, you know, the tolerant left, you know, they're very tolerant until they disagree with you, and then they come after you saying, you know, you shouldn't be able to exercise your First Amendment rights. And I've gotten that, and Laura's certainly gotten that.
President Bush said it was fine when he read a negative story about himself. But when he read negative stories or he heard negative stories about his own father, it was really difficult for him to handle. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, you can. And honestly, I think it was worse for us at the beginning of the campaign, at least for me. And then I just think it has to become a way of life. And I hate to say that. At the same time, I think if you took personal offense to every little blog writer online, every little columnist, every newspaper who you know has never liked you and probably never will like you, you'd be probably in a state of massive depression. I mean, you have to develop a little bit of a shield, and you have to let things roll off your back.
That's tough, to let things just roll off your back.
He says it's a lot easier now, though, because he's used to it and the election's over with.
Right. But the criticism hasn't stopped. It's really heated up, but yet he can't really interact with his dad like he used to.
Because he runs the business.
Because he runs the business that he's not supposed to have
That's right.
ties
That's exactly
to.
right.
So,
when I asked him anything political, he could give his opinion, but he doesn't know. He says, I'm not quite aware of what's exactly happening in the White House because I'm not part of the administration.
Separation of church and state.
Yes, exactly.
So great job. So we'll have more of that later?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank you. They're wonderful.
Congratulations to the Trumps. 9th grandchild.
I know, it's so special. All right, so what would you do if your child came home with this homework assignment? To write an essay about 9/11 from the terrorist point of view. That actually happened, and the teacher is defending it.
And you may want to make America great again, but try to say that is a bad thing.
We're saying to those who say they're patriotic, but they turn a blind eye to the destruction that he's about to cause this country. You're not nearly as patriotic as we are.
Now you know why Maxine Waters wasn't his running mate. Is that really the way to bring the country together?
All right, it is 27 minutes before the top of the hour on this busy Tuesday. Last night on the House floor, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of Los Angeles, who has in the past reminded folks, my mission and goal is to make sure that he does not remain President of the United States, had quite a speech in front of the House.
Yeah, here's 41 seconds of it. This is probably all you might be able to tolerate.
We have suffered discrimination. We've suffered isolation and undermining, but we stand up for America, oftentimes when others who think they are more patriotic, who say they're more patriotic, do not. When we fight against this president and we point out how dangerous he is for this society and for this country, we're fighting for the democracy. We're fighting for America. We're saying to those who say they're patriotic, but they turn a blind eye to the destruction that he's about to cause this country. You're not nearly as patriotic as we are.
So I have no idea what the meaning or purpose of those statements were, but you might think that, okay, for the people that elected through this democracy, through the electoral system, they might also be patriotic because she doesn't agree with Donald Trump and is out there to hurt Donald Trump, and California, for the most part, doesn't vote for Donald Trump. It doesn't mean he actually is bad for America, maybe in her mind.
Yeah, it makes her look bad. It makes her look so negative because she says a blind eye to the destruction that he is about to cause our country. So she's saying he hasn't done it yet, but I'm expecting him to. You can't go through life looking at it that way. And she's the one who says she wants him impeached.
Right. She does not like him as president. That's clear. It's politics. Interestingly enough, it was less than 2 weeks ago, Elijah Cummings, of the Congressional Black Caucus, came out of a meeting from the White House and was speaking very positively about President Trump.
We presented a proposal to the president, and I must tell you that the president was enthusiastic about our proposal. I'm having some faith and believing, and we'll see what happens.
So what Elijah Cummings got after that was 3 phone calls in 2 days about reducing his ideas for reducing pharmaceutical drugs, the price of pharmaceutical drugs, at which time we found out in the last minute of the negotiations in front of the Freedom Caucus, he said, I want to make sure Cummings's issues are addressed. So he didn't forget about it. He shows he's listening. He had the Congressional Black Caucus in last week again in its entirety. Whoever showed up, I didn't see attendance because it got overwhelmed by other news later on that day. And many people think tactically that the president might do well to reaching out to the Congressional Black Caucus on the Democratic side more than leadership to get legislation through.
Well, she's saying that he's being divisive. Do you not think what she said is divisive? It's the most negative thing, and such a negative message. It makes our country more divided.
She's been nonstop since the election.
It is hard to watch.
Yeah. So you've got 2 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, both with different points of view.
Meanwhile, she's accusing the president of being divisive, yet he's listening to Elijah Cummings and listening to Democrats, inviting Zeke Emanuel to come and talk to him about Obamacare.
3 times.
Elijah Cummings to talk to him about how he can improve race relations and what he can do for their community. I mean, it's...
Anyway,
what do you think? Send us your, comments.
Last night on the House floor, we thought we would play a snippet of it. We got a feeling you're going to be seeing it all day. In the meantime, it's time for some headlines, and for that, once again, Heather's here.
Hello. Certainly, we have some stories that we have been following for you. We begin with 3 would-be burglars shot dead seconds after breaking into a home. A 23-year-old shooting and killing the teenagers armed with brass knuckles and a knife. This was in Oklahoma. Right now, investigators say that it looks like a case of self-defense. The suspected getaway driver turned herself into police. She faces murder and burglary charges. And an Iowa State University professor sparking some serious outrage this morning for asking students to write about 9/11 from the terrorist point of view. In an email obtained by the College Fix, International Studies professor James Stroman tells his class, quote, the point of the exercise is to consider completely different perspectives. The university defending the assignment, but critics say it's too sympathetic to terrorists. And that Mustang in your rearview mirror, Yep, it's real. Look, a horse named Stryker and a mule named Hank running free down a San Francisco highway or interstate. The four-legged fugitives broke through a fence. They even used an on-ramp to get onto the highway. Police had to shut down the lanes to round up the troublemakers. And finally, Senator Chuck Schumer losing his cool at a swanky New York City restaurant. Witnesses telling the New York Post that he went off on a woman who voted for President Trump. The minority leader reportedly approaching Joseph Califano Jr. and his wife. Other diners say that Schumer made a scene over Mrs. Califano's support for the Trump administration. And here's the thing, Califano himself is a well-known Democrat and former member of President Jimmy Carter's cabinet. So those are look at your headlines so far. Interesting dinner at that restaurant.
According to Page 6, apparently Mr. Schumer was yelling at Hillary Califano because he said, "You voted for President Donald Trump. He's a liar. You voted for a liar."
Right.
Wow. But then again, Chuck Schumer's people say that it was a very civil conversation.
Right, yeah. All right, 21 minutes before the top of the hour. Coming up, take a look at this video. A mom horrified by an airport pat-down her special needs son went through for more than 2 minutes. Did the TSA go too far?
Plus, college crybabies protesting conservative speaker Charles Murray. Well, despite the protests, he's still set to take the stage at Notre Dame this evening. But our next guest, a student from Notre Dame, says those protesters aren't giving you the real picture. We'll be right back.
We have some quick headlines for you. Remember the Samsung phones that kept exploding, burning your hands, and even destroying cars? Well, it's now making a comeback. Samsung announcing it's going to sell the refurbished models of the Galaxy Note 7 in certain countries, but not here in the U.S. The flare-up cost Samsung more than $5 billion. And still confused about whether leggings are appropriate attire if you're on an airplane? Well, Delta wants you to know it is all right by them. The airline taking a swipe at United, tweeting this: "Flying Delta means comfort, and that means you can wear your leggings." United coming under fire for banning girls with a buddy pass from wearing leggings on a plane. So, Steve, you can wear your spandex.
Oh, thank you, Ainsley. That is such good news. Meanwhile, who could forget the scenes from Middlebury College earlier this month? Remember this? Students shouting at sociologist Charles Murray, a demonstration that ended violently outside, sending one professor to the hospital. But Murray has continued to speak, or at least try to speak, and tonight he's scheduled to do so at Notre Dame despite threats from protesters. One person who will be at the event and is part of the group that invited him to campus is campus reform correspondent and Notre Dame senior Katie Hardiman. She joins us right now live from Chicago. Kate, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, why did you want this guy to come to Notre Dame and talk?
So Charles Murray is actually speaking to our constitutional law and politics class and was invited by our professor, Philip Munoz. We just read his book, Coming Apart, for our class section on inequality, and actually read it in conjunction with left-leaning thinker Robert Putnam, who wrote Our Kids, the American Dream in Crisis. So the point of this class is to examine divisive issues by looking at thinkers from both the right and the left. So it's unfortunate that students have promised to protest this event.
Okay, and you've seen the video from various colleges that they shouted him down. He had to get hauled out. They took him to another venue at that particular college we just showed. Then somebody got hurt in their car on the way out. What's going on some of these campuses?
It's very upsetting to see all of this happening, and the irony is that protests don't usually happen on Notre Dame's campus. So this is really an anomaly, and I think that the majority of Notre Dame students are committed to free speech and open dialogue on campus, and that these protests are being driven by a very vocal minority who seek to disrupt the event. But this really is part of a larger trend of students who want to shut down ideas that they find disagreeable. But the irony is that tolerance is really the watchword on campuses these days, yet only certain ideas are apparently worthy of being tolerated.
You know, I'm glad you said that, Kate. So many people look to Notre Dame as a paragon of virtue, and yet here you've got this instance where you've got these protesters who are threatening to show up tonight and disrupt things. Who are these people?
So we're really not sure. We know that there's a protest planned by the college Democrats and then potentially a few other groups. But we don't really know what form the protest will take, and we only hope that they will be peaceful and not disrupt the ideas, because we who are organizing the event think it's really important for the ideas to actually be heard before they can be debated.
Right. You know, unfortunately, on a number of campuses, Kate, and you know this firsthand, for a lot of the tolerant left, it's either my way or the highway. And it seems like we're at a tipping point on some campuses where, regarding free speech, it could go either way.
I absolutely agree. And it's really sad for me to see, because I think when a lot of these students go out into the real world, they're going to be really disappointed when they're not able to be the most vocal dissenters and shut down speech with which they disagree. And I think that could be a real wake-up call for some people. But I just hope that we can keep our campuses open to dialogue and expression.
Because if you can't hear both sides on a college campus, where can you hear it? Interesting stuff. We'll be watching to see what happens tonight. Kate, thank you very much for joining us today from Chicago.
Thank you so much.
All right. 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. Still ahead, Scott Pruitt, the guy who runs the EPA, Senator Lindsey Graham, Bill O'Reilly, and Laura Ingraham. Plus, he's a national celebrity after hitting the game-winning shot in the most dramatic game of March Madness. So what happened when this Tar Heel showed up for his 8th